Disclaimer. None of the songs, including intro, artworks, including thumbnail, or characters in the video are mine. This is not an accurate portrayal of the characters. This is not a defamation of character either. This is only for entertainment. Warning. Foul language, grammatical mistakes, typographical errors. It should have been a normal day. It was a normal day. So why am I crying? Akora clutched his trembling hands to his mouth as he tried to muffle his sobs, his entire body shivering as he slowly kneeled down, pressing his forehead on the floor. It was a normal day. He woke up early, did his exercise, prepared food for the kids before taking them to Granny. Then he spent a few hours just lounging around the house before going to his therapy. The doctor told him that his knee was recovering fast. After that, he went to Granny's house to have dinner with her and the kids before going back home. He talked on the phone with Kagami while the kids were watching TV. Then he tucked the kids to bed. It was normal. It was normal. I don't get it. Why am I crying? Stop. Please. Akora choked on another sob. Why am I crying? Stop. I don't want to cry anymore. Stop fucking crying. You have nothing to cry about. Pathetic. Fucking stop. Instead, he cried louder. Audible whines escaped his mouth no matter how hard he tried to cover it. I don't want this. Stop. Akora bit his hands, desperately trying to muffle his sobs, but tears and snot just cascaded down his face and joined the saliva now pooling at the side of his mouth. Why am I like this? Why? I should have just. Akora shook that thought out of his head as he wiped away the tears and snot with his arm. He stood up on wobbly legs, then went straight to the sink to get rid of everything. Stop. There are people out there who's suffering more than you. You have no right to cry. That's pathetic. You're pathetic. Stop. You have no right. But even as he blew his nose, even as he washed off the tears, more came to replace them. Giving up, he just pressed himself in the corner of the kitchen, hands clutching his hair as he laughed hysterically. I hate this. I hate you. Why would you do this to me? How can you do this to me? I should have just jumped that day. Akora thought, his eyes moving over to the knives. The second that thought passed through his head, his phone on the counter rang. Startled, Akora flinched before he realized where the shrill sound was coming from. He wiped his tears as he slowly got up to get it. When he saw Atsumu's name flash through his screen, he felt a wave of panic so strong that he doubled over the sink, puking. Oh God, Atsumu. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Upon seeing Atsumu's name, he realized what he just thought of, what he was planning on doing, and he remembered Atsumu's face when he found out what he tried to do. Akora promised that he wouldn't try again, that if he ever even thought about it that he'd talk to Atsumu. But he can't. What is he supposed to say? How is he supposed to say it? He can't disappoint Atsumu. No, not Atsumu. He's the only one I have left. Flashback. On the first night in their new house, after the kids already went to bed, Atsumu and Akora were watching TV when Atsumu suddenly spoke. Hey Akora. You know I love you, right? Akora blinked, confused at the sudden topic. What brought this on? You didn't answer my question. Akora opened his mouth to answer. Of course he wanted to say, but his mouth wouldn't produce anything. He started, but could say nothing else as a stone formed in his throat, hard and heavy. Do you though? Do you love me? Really? Akora. Atsumu cried, with actual tears. Surprised, Akora acted on instinct, pulling Atsumu closer to him and holding him tight. Atsumu what? What brought this on? He asked again, because he can't, for the life of him, answer yes. He can't tell Atsumu that he believes him because what if? What if you're lying? What if your love isn't enough? And Akora's tired. He's so tired. It was a slap in the face to know a truth he already knew but refused to accept. Not everybody you love will love you. He knew it even when he was a child, when his father favored Tala. How Akora always tried to gain his father's approval, but all he ever got were strained, reluctant smiles. How his mother noticed too and tried to distance herself from him so she could gain his father's favor. How when his father left, he knew it was because of him. He didn't know why his father hated him so much, just that he did. He knew it then, that no matter what he does, he can't convince people to love him, just as he loves them. But he had Iwaizumi, and Iwaizumi loved him, so it was okay. It didn't matter who else loved him, just that Iwaizumi did. His world crumbled when he realized that even Iwaizumi didn't love him. So if it does turn out that Atsumu doesn't actually love him, he won't be surprised. It will hurt terribly, but it won't be surprising. Ruru. Atsumu choked on a sob as he tightened his grip on Akora. Ru slipped up, told me how you tried to jump. Akora felt cold. It was weird, he thought. It was weird how absolutely uncaring he felt about his near death when the people around him despaired about it. I don't. Why you? Akora. Atsumu sobbed, so Akora embraced him even more. It's not like he really wanted to die. No. He still had a lot of dreams. A lot of things he wants to do. A lot of people to prove wrong, but there are times when Akora thought that it was better with him gone. Don't do that again, please. Don't leave me. Atsumu pleaded, his voice weak, desperate. It made Akora's heart clench. I almost died that day too. Akora choked, his entire body freezing over as fear gripped his heart. What? I ran out, not knowing where I was going, and I almost got hit by a car. Akora's eyes were wide as he desperately clutched Atsumu's clothes. The vision of his best friend bloodied, almost unrecognizable due to the damage. His usual bright eyes empty and unseeing, while people gawk at him, gasp, cry as if they cared about him, all the while making a spectacle of him. Their phones out and recording everything as if it wasn't a person lying dead in the middle of the road, as if that wasn't his best friend. That image flooded his mind and he had to swallow a few times to stop his dinner from coming out. I almost gave up, you know. No, I did give up. I saw the car coming even though my eyes were blurry. I saw it coming and I had enough time to run away. But I didn't. I just stood there and accepted it. Akora's body trembled along with Atsumu's voice. Atsumu, I didn't want to die. I don't want to. But at that moment, all I wanted was for the pain to stop. And I thought that maybe it would be peaceful. Akora understood then how people around him felt about his almost suicide. How, even though it didn't affect him as much, that it wasn't anything bad for him, it was devastating news to others. He knows it now as Atsumu talked and described his own. And he cried. Akora cried, trembling in Atsumu's arms as thoughts of living in a world without his best friend would be like. Knowing that there was nothing he could do because Atsumu himself chose that road. That was his decision. If it wasn't for Ru, I probably wouldn't be here right now. Or maybe I would. It was an accident and maybe I would have survived it. Maybe I wouldn't be able to walk again, but I'd still live. But you know what, I wouldn't survive. Akora didn't answer. He just closed his eyes, tears flowing out of it even more as he tucked his face on Atsumu's neck. I wouldn't have been survived waking up in a world knowing that my best friend wasn't there anymore. Akora gasped. That you jumped and I wasn't there to pull you back because I was too absorbed with myself. No. Akora shouted as he grabbed Atsumu's wet face so they could look at each other. No, Atsumu. It's not your fault. You were hurt. And you're allowed to feel hurt. You're allowed to cry, to scream, to kick and punch. If something happened to me because you were hurting, it wouldn't be your fault. It is. Maybe if I called you immediately. Maybe if I wasn't so pathetic as to cry over someone who clearly never wanted me. Maybe I would have been there with you. Then and by the same, if I wasn't so busy standing on that cliff like an idiot, then maybe I could have been the one who saved you. You were hurting too. You got cheated on, Kora. Well, Sakusa broke up with you. Atsumu shook his head. People break up all the time. But nobody deserves to get cheated on. And you didn't deserve to get hurt. To be taken for granted. You deserve so much more. You do too. You deserve everything you could ever want. They both sat there, tears flowing down their faces as they clutched each other like a lifeline. Promise me. Promise you won't try again. That if you ever get even a single thought of it, you'd talk to me and I'll pull you back. Akora didn't answer. He just watched Atsumu with so many emotions he couldn't ever hope to identify. Promise me, Kora, or I swear to God I will come and drag you back into the world of the living no matter how much you cry and scream. Akora smiled through his tears. But then who would rule hell? Atsumu laughed. I don't care. Give it back to Lucy. What? I won the throne fair and square, Atsumu. I can't just give it back. You stole Lucy's job, Kora. Loser's gonna hate. Atsumu laughed again and he could feel the dried tears every time his cheeks stretched. You can just take back the throne when you go back. But only if you go back old and gray. I wouldn't be strong enough then. Atsumu turned serious as he took hold of Akora's hands and interlocked them. Then I'll help you. I'll help you take back the throne. And Akora was struck into silence at the intensity of Atsumu's eyes, at the love and honesty in there. Atsumu truly would conquer hell for him, with him, and with the conviction in his voice. Akora knew those words for what it was, a promise. Okay, you'll help me rule too? We can be co-kings or something. And in return, Akora would trust Atsumu. Of course. Atsumu smiled, small and soft, understanding the underlying meaning of those words. Akora opening his heart once more, to him. Just promise me we'll do it when we're old and gray. Akora swallowed through the lump in his throat before he spoke. I promise. And he means it. He'll try to live for as long as possible. For Atsumu. Relieved, Atsumu collapsed forward into Akora's arms. Love you Kora. Love you Atsumu. Back to the present. Akora slowly walked away from the phone. He can't talk to Atsumu like this. He can't let him know that he almost broke his promise. Akora shook his head before stepping forward to silence the phone. Then he turned tail and ran to his room. He'll talk to Atsumu when he's more stable. He doesn't want to disappoint Atsumu. Doesn't want to lose him. I'll just tell him I fell asleep. No need to worry him. But Atsumu was already worried. And so is another redhead. When Kagami received a call from Midorima, he was incredibly confused and maybe a little bit irritated because he was already asleep. When what greeted him was an anxious Midorima asking about Akora, it felt like a bucket of cold water fell on him. He was alert in an instant, every hair in his body rising up as his mind brought him back to that day. Kagami never told anyone but he can't ever forget that sight. The sight of Akora framed by the beautiful sunset. And that he's had a few nightmares that involved him being too late, or not being there at all. What happened? We don't know. He's just not answering his phone and we're worried. We were wondering if you heard from him. No. I mean, we had our daily tutoring but that was hours ago. He seemed fine. Oh. Can you try calling him? Maybe he'll answer if it's you. Sure. Kagami answered, already changing into decent clothes. He's not going to get any sleep until he sees that Akora's okay. Call me back when you have something. Atsumu-san's panicking. Yeah. And with that, Kagami hung up and went to disturb Himuro. Thankfully, Kagami was already in Osaka since Sirin and Yozun are having a training camp together, as well as some other teams from the nearby area. He found his brother playing on his phone on the couch. Tatsuya. What? Take me to Hyogo. I have to check on Akora-san. Himuro put down his phone, going alert when he heard the worry in Kagami's voice. Oh, what's wrong with Toru? I don't know. They can't contact him and I want to make sure that he's okay. Sure. Lem go get my keys. The entire car ride, Kagami was fidgeting due to anxiousness, his hands gripping his thighs hard as he gritted his teeth. Himuro didn't say anything, knowing that Kagami won't calm down until he sees Akora. When they arrived at Akora and Atsumu's house, Kagami didn't even wait for the car to completely stop before going out. Not waiting for Himuro, he ran to the house, swung the gate open as he gripped the key that Akora gave him. He's been holding it in his hand the entire ride there since he didn't want to delay further by going through his pockets. Akora-san? He called into the silent house, still aware of the kids who are probably sleeping already. Nobody answered. Cautiously, afraid, he walked towards Akora's room, knocking on the wood as he called out Akora's name. Akora-san? When he didn't receive an answer, he twisted the knob and entered. He scanned the dark room for Akora and saw him curled on one of the corners of the wall, squeezed between one wall and his bedside table. His hands were gripping his hair tight as his entire body trembled, whimpers and hiccups echoing in the empty room as Akora tried to breathe but unable to. Kagami felt his heart break once more. He hasn't seen this Akora in a while and it hurts to see it again. Hurts to see Akora so small and fragile. Slowly, he kneeled on the floor and slowly towards Akora. Not too close to scare him, but close enough that if Akora needs him, he's within reach. Akora-san, hey, he whispered, gaining Akora's attention. Akora's head snapped up to look at the sound, his eyes wide and unseeing, red and full of tears, terrified. Hey Akora-san, it's me, Mr. Kitty Cat. It took a few seconds before Aikora's eyes cleared, then a few more moments of him just blinking his tears away. Mr. Kitty Cat, Akora whispered, his voice hoarse and weak, so much that the cat part was no longer audible. Yeah, Mr. Kitty Cat, Akora sobbed as he uncurled on the floor and reached a hand to Kagami. Tiger, I'm here. I'm here Akora-san. Kagami met Akora in the middle and immediately pulled the smaller male to his lap, making Akora straddle him as he leaned them on the wall. His arm was around Aikora's waist while his other hand held the back of Aikora's head. Akora gripped the back of Kagami's shirt tightly as he cried on the younger's broad shoulder. Tiger, Akora cried again while Kagami held him tighter, whispering sweet assurances to Aikora's ears. I'm here Akora-san. You're going to be okay. I'm here. I'll keep you safe. Akora sobbed. Don't leave me. Please. Akora whispered, begged. Kagami swallowed through the lump in his throat as he blinked away the tears forming in his own eyes. He lowered his hand to hold Aikora's wrist, bringing it up to his face and kissing his pulse. Never Aikora-san. I'll never leave you. He mumbled, his lips still pressed on Aikora's pulse, begging the man he loves to believe him. He looked at Akora in the eye as he fixed his hold on his wrist so that his middle and index finger were pressed on Aikora's pulse. He examined Aikora's face for a few moments, Akora doing the same to him. He smiled softly at him before he raised the hand around Aikora's waist up to his face to tuck Aikora's hair behind his ears, then cupped his cheek. Your hair's getting longer. Akora leaned on Kagami's hand, closing his eyes to savor the warmth it provided before whispering his agreement. Are you going to dye it again? I don't know. Kagami hummed, thumbing away Aikora's tears before leaning forward and kissing Aikora's forehead. It's okay. Whatever you decide, I'll be here. It was weird, Akora decided. It was weird how oddly relieved he was at that. They are talking about his hair and here was Kagami, offering his support. A heavy promise for such a small thing. But it filled Akora with so much relief that he collapsed on Kagami's arms, tucking his head under the taller redhead's chin. They were both silent for a few minutes, just trying to calm down. When he felt like he could breathe again, Akora spoke. Mr. Kitty Cat? Yes Akora-san? Tell me about yourself. It's just, I don't really know much about you. Kagami hummed, thinking of what to say. But if you don't want to, then it's fine. Kagami squeezed Aikora's waist to assure him that it's fine. Then he pressed a kiss on the side of Aikora's head. I don't really know what to say. You can tell me anything you'd like to share. How about you ask me a question and I'd ask you as well. I'd like to know more about you. Okay, I'll go first. What's your favorite color? Sky blue. What's yours? Red. Akora made a small smile at that, his eyes crinkling so much more than normal due to his crying. Too predictable, maybe. Kagami huffed out a laugh. Do you like being a model? Yes, actually. The people there are all so nice and supportive. And maybe it's vain, but being a model actually give me confidence. And although it's exhausting at times and there are so many expectations on me, I like it. Is it weird that I like that people expect a lot from me? It makes me feel that my efforts are recognized and that I'm worth something. Kagami rubbed a circle on Aikora's pulse before lifting his wrist and kissing it again. Who cares if it's unusual? As long as you're happy, then that's fine. Akora tucked himself further into Kagami's neck and Kagami could feel Aikora's smile on his skin. If you aren't a basketball player, what would you like to be in the future? A firefighter. Akora smiled again. Let me guess. Too predictable again? Akora shrugged. I think it's cute. Kagami scoffed. I don't think there's anything cute about me. Akora lifted his head from Kagami's neck, then smiled at him as he booped him on the nose, then squeezed his cheeks. But you're so cute. My adorable Mr. Kitty Cat. Meanwhile, Kagami's blushing furiously while screaming in his head. HaikyuuxKnB, why are you so adorable? I love you. I love you so much. Thankfully, the room's too dark for Akora to see his blush. Next question. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? Akora actually laughed at that, his head thrown back as he giggled adorably, and Kagami bit his tongue to stop himself from pouring out all his feelings and surging forward to swallow all of Akora's sweet smiles and laughter. Ice cream flavor? Seriously? What? It's a valid question. How would I know what to buy you? Akora gasped as he looked at Kagami in excitement. Are you going to buy me ice cream? Maybe if I know your favorite ice cream flavor, I might. The time continued with them like that. Kagami on the floor with Akora straddling him. Kagami's hand still on Akora's pulse while Akora's are still fiddling with Kagami's jacket. Both smiling and laughing as they find out more about each other. Their eyes crinkling yet hurting at the same time due to the tears cried. Kagami even forgot Himuro, who already left, knowing that Kagami's not going to leave Akora's side anytime soon. He might be Akora's friend, but he knows that if Akora had a problem, they're not close enough for him to be trusted. So he left them alone and went back home, leaving a text to let Kagami know where he is. Then, when Akora was about to ask the next question, he hesitated. You can prefer to not answer this if you're not comfortable. Kagami nodded at him to continue. Where are your parents? I mean, I know about Alex, but I also know that she's not your actual mother. Kagami blinked at that. Oh, that. Like I said, if you don't want to answer it then it's fine. It's fine, Akora-san. My father was also a basketball player like me. At least he wanted to be. He got his girlfriend pregnant when they were on their last year of high school and the girl left the baby, me, with him, then bailed, so he had to give up his dreams to take care of me instead. Akora felt awkward and sorry about making Kagami remember that, and also anger at his mother. He gets that she was young when she got pregnant and probably scared, but he still can't help but feel angry for Kagami's sake. Kagami smiled at him. It's fine, Akora-san. My father wanted us to have a fresh start, so he brought me to America. I met Alex and Tatsuo and the rest is history. My dad is also a trainer for an NBA team, so it doesn't really matter to me anymore. And it doesn't. Not anymore. It did before. But after he met Alex, well, he can't really see anyone else as his mother anymore. Still feeling Akora's guilt, Kagami rubbed Akora's pulse, gaining a smile from the older male. Wanna see a picture of my dad? Can I? Sure. Just a sec. Kagami retrieved his phone from his jacket while still not letting go of Akora's pulse. He saw Himuro's text, so he replied a short message wishing him safe and to inform him when he gets home before he opened the last picture he and his dad took before he came back to Japan. Akora looked at the photo then blushed, and because of the light from Kagami's phone and Akora's pale face, it was very noticeable. Oh wow, Akora said, still blushing while Kagami's eyebrows are slowly rising to his hair. Is something wrong, Akora-san? Akora shook his head, his lips pressed in a thin line before answering in a tight voice. Nothing. Your father's just really good looking. Kagami raised an eyebrow at that, not knowing how to feel. He then remembered Midorima's concern about Atsumu's seeming attraction to his father, which, yeah, he doesn't want to think about, especially not with Akora and his dad. Speaking of Atsumu, next question. How did you meet Atsumu-san? Akora stiffened. Akora-san, I'm sorry. I almost broke my promise to Atsumu tonight. No, I actually did break my promise. At least one of them. Is that why you're not answering his calls? You know about that? Midorima called me since Atsumu-san was apparently worried that you're not answering. Akora frowned in guilt. Hey, it's fine, Akora-san. We can just call Atsumu-san now and tell him that you're alright. I don't want to talk to Atsumu yet. I'm not ready. Akora fiddled with the zipper of Kagami's jacket. But can you tell him I'm fine? Sure, Akora-san. After that, let's go to bed. Akora nodded as he gripped Kagami's hand that came to cup his cheek once more. You'll stay with me, right? Akora whispered, his eyes pleading. Vulnerable. Kagami just smiled. Always. Akora-san. Atsumu couldn't sleep without knowing how Akora was, so while his teammates slept, he went outside to just sit and stare at his phone. A few minutes later, the door opened and Atsumu looked, about to make an excuse to his coach as to why he's not yet asleep when he caught sight of who came out. Samu, Atsumu said, surprised. Osamu doesn't look shocked to see Atsumu though. We have training early tomorrow. You should be asleep. Yeah, I'm waiting for something. Osamu nodded. Can I sit here? Sure. Osamu slowly sat down beside Atsumu. There's still a space big enough for someone else between them though. The atmosphere was silent for a few minutes and Atsumu couldn't take it. He could never take the silence. Especially when it's awkward silence. So, Osamu's head whipped around to see Atsumu. Either he was surprised that Atsumu spoke to him, or he was waiting for it. Why aren't you asleep yet? Osamu shrugged. I couldn't sleep. Oh okay. The awkward silence is back. It's painful. It's painful that Osamu can no longer ask what Atsumu's waiting for. That Atsumu could no longer ask why Osamu can't sleep. It's painful when they both remember the times when they didn't have to ask because they already know. Twin telepathy and all that. But somehow, they slowly lost it until it was completely gone. And now they are left clueless on how to interact. How do you talk to someone you knew more than yourself but now are like strangers? Osamu swallowed painfully. He knows it's his fault. His and Atsumu's strained relationship. Atsumu's and Suna's. Atsumu's and Jinjima's. All his fault. Atsumu doesn't know about boundaries. He doesn't know when someone's joking or when someone's genuinely insulting him. And Osamu set that line for him once. He's the one who snaps at people when they get too far. So when he himself moved the line, everybody followed. It removed Atsumu's boundaries until they all got so used to the fact that Atsumu just allowed them to insult him. Because he doesn't know that they are. And suddenly, all their relationships changed. Because if Osamu's insulting Atsumu, and he's allowing people to insult Atsumu, then who's to stop them? Atsumu doesn't. Atsumu won't. Atsumu can't. And Osamu wants to apologize. He desperately wants to kneel down in front of Atsumu and beg for forgiveness, but he can't. Every time he tries, the words get stuck in his throat. And the longer he doesn't apologize, the harder it is to do so. It brings up a lot of questions. Why are you only apologizing now? Why not then? Why allow it to get to this point? Why do you even have to apologize in the first place? Because why? Why did he treat Atsumu like that in the first place? Why was he so mad? Why? And Osamu's afraid. He's terrified. Of what? He doesn't know. Is he scared that Atsumu's not going to forgive him? Or is he scared that Atsumu's going to forgive him without a second thought? Osamu's scared. He wants to be forgiven. Yes. And there's that fear that he won't ever be. But the larger part of him knows that if he just apologizes, Atsumu will forgive him. Without even hearing his reason why he did those things to him. Osamu will be forgiven easily. And he doesn't deserve that. Atsumu doesn't deserve that. So Osamu can't apologize. He desperately wants forgiveness and reconciliation, but he knows he doesn't deserve it. And maybe he wishes that Atsumu hates him at least a bit. Because then Osamu would have to work for his forgiveness. And if he is forgiven, he'll deserve it. Wanna play chess to pass the time? Atsumu looked at him, confused. And Osamu's heart clenched in pain. He hates that Atsumu's confused as to why Osamu wants to hang out. Sure. And he hates that Atsumu's just giving him a free pass. Contrary to popular belief, Osamu has always been the more selfish of the two. So he takes this chance to be with his brother again. They play chess, a few jabs and teasing, small and awkward but genuine smiles, pretending that everything's fine between them. Then Atsumu's phone rang and the atmosphere was broken, their game forgotten. Atsumu fumbled while he eagerly answered the call. Hello, Atsumu-san. Kagami. What is it? How's Kora? Is he fine? Is there something wrong? Akora-san's fine, Atsumu-san. He just fell asleep and forgot his phone on the kitchen. Akora asked Kagami to lie for now. He doesn't want to worry Atsumu. He'll tell him in person when Atsumu comes back home. But for now, it's better if Atsumu focuses on his training. Atsumu knows that there's something they're not telling him, but he let it go for now. Kagami's calm and he wouldn't have been if Akora's not okay. Okay, I'll come visit tomorrow to check up on him. Akora-san said, not to Atsumu-san. But we're actually planning on visiting there tomorrow. Really? Yeah. Okay. Atsumu spoke to Kagami for a few more minutes, making sure that everything's fine. Then he messaged Midorima that he's also fine. When he turned back on Osamu, the chess they were playing were already fixed and boxed up. Oh. We're not playing anymore? It's late, Atsumu. We should go. Atsumu tried to stop his yawn but he couldn't. He still wants to stay out here with his brother and play with him. Okay. Night Samu. Night Atsumu. Atsumu walked into their cabin while Osamu watched him. Nothing's fixed. And Osamu doesn't know if it will ever be or if he wants it to be. Because he doesn't think he deserves to be by Atsumu's side anymore. Atsumu deserves better. And Osamu doesn't deserve Atsumu. Atsumu's head peeked on the side of the door. Are you coming? But what does Atsumu want? Yeah. Osamu will only know if he asks, and he can only ask if he apologizes.